have a lack of social media skills, it doesn't make you a bad leader. That really has nothing to do with that. It's just fluff at this point. However, in certain business arenas, it does play a vital role. Certainly, I've worked with many small business owners and law firms, and it plays a vital role. And especially here with the city being transparent, getting the information out, we can watch our commission meetings online, we can pay our electric bills online, we can follow Twitter accounts, all of these things, follow the bonfire updates. So I think it's very important that we use technology in the future. The world is changing in that regard. Thank you.
What's a fax machine? Anyone about that want to mention it in the future too? I just want to make somebody pass me a little note to remind everyone. Everyone here was invited. They were not brought here of non-free will. They were all invited. They all responded, and they're pretty much all here. So, I don't know why I have to mention. Yes, Diane John is missing. She was invited, and she did respond, and said she had prior engagement. Now, I want you to know that I do read these word for word. Do any of you really believe that there is going to be a private beach club and convention center at the beach? If so, what documentation do you have to support that? No.
No.
Nope. Over my dead body.
I don't have any evidence right now, but I've worked with plenty of developers in the past, and again, we've seen it just a couple of weeks ago when they were lobbying to 6 stories. And again, you don't lobby to 6 stories and build to 2 or 5 or whatever it may be. So I think there might be some alternative things and ideas that they may not be put to rest. I don't want to run on the beach ticket, but again, just know that what I stand for is I want to keep that beach public. I want to keep it for us. It is our beach. Thank you.
Our beach will always be public. It'll always be ours. It's so funny. People talk about different things. You know how many people come and propose an idea at the city? There have been people over the last 4 years that wanted to build a splash park, a wave pool, this, or that. People propose things all the time. It's up to us, your electeds, to vet that and to talk about things with you. And things get proposed all the time, that's it. But we talk about it and we come to the solutions together. Our public beach is our beach. It is always ours. It will always be ours. Enough with this conversation and rhetoric back and forth. It's ours. And it will always be ours. Thank you.
Thanks for the quickness that some of you answered the questions. I have to take a deep breath for this one. In August, one of the candidates stressed to the commission to essentially turn Bryant Park into a homeless camp. Even suggested there would be lawsuits if they did not comply. Also mentioned some homeless have addiction and mental issues. Bryant Park is in a residential neighborhood. Bryant Park has a children's playgrounds. What are your plans for Bryant Park?
Keep it as a public park.
I have a feeling that I'm the candidate that was referring to. I challenge you to find where I said I want to turn Bryant Park into a homeless camp. I challenge you to find where I ever said I want to turn anywhere in this town into a homeless camp. because I care about human beings, and I care more about human beings who are suffering and who are in need, does not mean I want to turn Bryant Park into a homeless camp. I like Bryant Park. I want to see Bryant Park stay exactly how it is right now.
The issue of homelessness, as I mentioned earlier, is a national issue. It's an epidemic. Unfortunately, the county only has one major homeless center, and that's in West Palm Beach, Lewis Center. There are some others on the drawing boards, there's some smaller operations, but the bottom line is there are far too many homeless folks based on the number of beds we have to house them. The city of Lake Worth is not equipped at this point to house the homeless. Okay, we need to take a look into the future and see if there's somebody who might come up with some alternative housing solutions and some programming. But under no circumstances are we going to create a free flow of folks who camp out at Bryant Park, or the golf course, or the cultural plaza, or anywhere else for that matter. When these folks are engaged by PDSO or members of the public, they're usually asked if they would like to have help. They have an option to seek the help. If they ask for the help, they will be given the help and the resources they need, as long as they comply with whatever the conditions of that help brings to the table. So no, Bryant Park is never going to be homeless camp.
All right. I agree with most of the candidates, and like I said earlier, I've already began to work with this. I'm really excited to meet with the gentleman on Friday. But this is one of those issues where it's double-sided. You've got a compassion side, you've got a commerce side. And I think all of us here can understand in our heart of hearts, no one wants to see it. You know, whether it's a disabled vet, somebody with mental problems, somebody who just lost his job, there are all these variety of reasons. But the other side of that is that we need commerce. We need this city to move forward. We need progress. You know, the Gulfstream is going to be built, whether it's 4 stories, 6 stories, doesn't matter. It needs to get built, and we can't have that issue in Bryant Park. So I do not want it as a homeless camp. Thank you.
I do not want it as a homeless camp. And again, I believe that, our park spaces, we're trying to create more park spaces all throughout our city. In fact, one of the greatest commissions that's ever been here in the city, creating more roadway projects, but also more greenway projects than roadway projects, LED lighting, all kinds of great things that are giving people dignity and self-esteem in our community. We need to make sure that we respect all people in the city, and that's why I've been working with Commissioner Shelley for the last several months on some of these major issues and finding the homeless a good, safe place that they deserve to have. But we need to also make sure that our parks are open for our children, not noodles on the ground that we have to worry about picking up. We have to make sure that our families can play there safely, and not worry about pedophiles hanging out by the swing sets. We have to make sure we've got a lot to do here in the community. It's not going to be easy, but to continue to work together, we'll be able to make sure that our city is the best it possibly can be.
Hard question, but let me tell you where to find that information on Mr. Ryan Hartman. You can go to the public records request, and he did get up at the commission meeting and say, turn on the electric and the water and let them live there, leave them alone. And let me tell you what it's about. Also visit Mr. Hartman's Earth First website, where he calls self-proclaimed anarchists, which he's already admitted to being a self-proclaimed anarchist, to come to the city of Lake Worth for the month of February for what they call a musical. And you can sleep under the stars. Where do you think they're going to sleep? They're either going to sleep in his front yard or Bryant Park. So Google tomorrow Earth First and look at exactly what their call is for the city of Lake Worth. And what they're doing is they're going to bring these people here and they're going to register them to vote, because you register to vote 30 days prior, and they're going to vote and they're going to make decisions for you, the taxpayers and the homeowners. That's exactly what's happening in Bryant Park. It's a wedge piece. And absolutely should not, and you hear them laughing in the back, but they know it's true, but thank you.
Thank you. Took a thumbs up for that one. Coming into Lake Worth is a disgrace with the migrants all over the place begging for work. Is that so? Yes. Can't a central location be adopted to make the town have a cleaner image?
I'm going to ignore that racist question and respond to what Andrew said. true that there is a group called Earth First. I'm a part of Earth First. Earth First has a website. I don't control the website, but it does have a website. There is a group of people coming here, and I'll tell you all the truth right now. They are going to put on a musical. It's a musical they've been working on for 2 years. It's a musical they performed at the University of Minnesota. It's actually a musical. You're invited. If you want to talk to me afterwards, if you want to be in the musical, or you can help build sets, you're more than welcome to come and help out. None of them, to my knowledge, will be sleeping in Bryant Park. I have a home. A lot of my friends have homes.
15
This
seconds.
is where these people will be staying. So please stop listening to lies. I'm actually a pretty good person if you approach me and meet me instead of listening to rumors and lies. Thanks.
Well, I don't think 750 people are necessary to put on a production of a musical. Okay. So anyway, the question really was centered around the issue of undocumented immigrants, illegal aliens, however you like to refer to them. First of all, I don't think it's terribly important when we look at so much the fact that they are walking our streets. What was the question? How do you frame it as far as cleaning up the streets? I like that, the way that was phrased.
Coming into Lake Worth is a disgrace, with the migrants all over the place waiting for work. Can the central location be adapted to make the time?
Not really. The central location could not be done legally. Unfortunately, it's against federal law to assist and aid illegal aliens in a conformist fashion. There is a day labor center that is known for helping the undocumented folks up in the Jupiter area, and those folks are fine with that. But the city of Lake Worth is not prepared or ill-equipped, and is ill-equipped to do anything to help with the illegal alien
15
population.
seconds.
The real issue is that the host countries where these folks come from need to get their acts together. They need to take care of their people so they don't flood our borders and impact our nation. We need to have those folks be taken care of by their home nations, by their governments. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I really don't want to answer this question. This is also more of a national issue, just like homelessness. It's not something that's just a Lake Worth problem, but I just don't feel comfortable answering that question.
This city is about lifting people up and empowering them. And that's what the city has always tried to do. We have a heart for the homeless, we have a heart for people that are looking for work. And we've always supported the Maya Guatemalan Center. We've supported a lot of organizations throughout our city. People are looking for jobs, and that's exactly what I've been trying to talk to you about this whole re-election campaign. Our people need work. We need to supply jobs. Over 30% unemployment rate, 30% poverty rate, 13.3% unemployment rate. Some of the things that we're trying to do is to get people the work that they need. And eventually, wherever you stand on the immigration issue, whatever it's going to be, eventually, we'd like to make sure that the people stay here within our community and become citizens and start to contribute to our tax base and be productive in our community. So, I really think that we just need to lift people up, folks. Let's stop tearing down, okay?
We have a large, diverse community, and we need to embrace everyone that's here. I do a lot of work with the Bridges and Highlands, teaching the parents early learning for the children so they're on the same school level, teaching them, we now have men's groups, teaching them how to get jobs, where to get jobs, so they don't have to stand on the corners. Again, we mentioned the Department of Commerce. The Department of Commerce would bring huge amounts of jobs for locals. So not only will this bring a tax base, it will also bring huge amount of jobs. And we need to start embracing all people in the city of Lake Worth and all the diversity here.
Yeah, I know this problem is controlled by the federal government, and we have very little we can do, but I would like to see somebody up there somehow teach these people not to run out front cars, not to ride their bicycles across without stopping. Somebody's going to get hit out there, somebody. That's going to happen. Thank you.
reading it, but it's not. How can we address the dual problems of homelessness, IV drug use, and unregulated sober homes dumping non-residents on our streets? Please relate this to equal protection under law and the growing national heroin epidemic as covered on 60 Minutes last night. That's it. Scott. I will repeat.
No. That's the yellow card. But there's two issues here. You can't answer the question that's going to satisfy that one. The first issue, and that is homelessness, drug addiction. We've kind of touched on that a little bit this evening, and I'm not going to repeat myself or try to repeat the comments of other people. The issue of solar homes, though, is quite another issue. And if any of you are familiar with the ADA and the federal fair housing standards, you'll know that it's almost impossible to regulate in any form or fashion a solar home. The fact and reality of it is, any one of us in this room could go into a residential neighborhood, buy a home, and rent it out as a solar home. And there's very little we can do because folks will claim protection under ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the fair housing standards. Now, we are working through Lois Wrangle in Washington, trying to come up with a new law, a federal law, that closes these loopholes with the ADA and the Fair Housing Act, because these were unintended consequences of both those acts when they were enacted back many years ago. So hopefully we'll be able to do something about that at the federal level. Thank you.
I believe the primary goal of any government is to protect its people. Whether that's a monarchy, a triumvirate, a republic, the primary goal is to protect the people. And that's through the military, the police, the fire, CDC, World Health Organization, you name it. And so, again, to protect these people, you know, it's a very hard issue, and I'm very excited. I think we've all spoken about this a number of times tonight, but I am very excited to meet with these people, and I will surely share the information with the mayor and anybody else who's interested. Thank you.
In every situation, there's good and there's bad. There's a lot of people doing a lot of good work in recovery centers that know that, number one, the patient is the most important thing. But then we have the bad. The bad is someone, when one of their patients that they collect money from and urine tests from and this and that from, when one of these persons uses, again, they're thrown out onto the streets into an environment which is not conducive to their healing process. And we watch that walk every morning up and down Federal Highway and Dixie Highway. People that are not doing what they should be as healthcare professionals and throwing these people into an environment for them to use again and to commit crimes on our streets and to commit crimes against the homeless even.
Yep. 15
For a
seconds.
fix. So the state, we're working very much. People say, well, why are they going to Tallahassee or why are they going to Washington? This is one of the severe issues that we're watching and tracking very carefully. We need to do something about it. We need to care for all of them.
First of all, I don't think my opponent talked to sober homes at all. But again, we travel to Tallahassee and Washington on a regular basis. We were there last week lobbying for sober home regulations. Commissioner Shannon Ontario is also a big supporter of East and West Palm Beach. We're actually looking at matching some of the things West Palm Beach is doing and El Rey is doing. We're working with Senator Clemens and Senator Hager in Tallahassee. They brought through a voluntary registration, which started in December. We already have about 600 people registered. Those are the good ones. Now we're looking at the bad ones. And again, the biggest problem I have with is there's no exit strategy. They're shipping them here from other cities. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I talked to somebody from Bethesda Hospital, and the hospitals are having a problem. They're checking in, and they have nowhere to go afterwards. So it's a huge issue, and it's not unique to us. And again, we're doing everything we can to find a solution.
I'm there's no control over. If you go out and drink a beer or have a joint or whatever those program is, they throw you out in the street and your neighborhood, my neighborhood. There has to be some follow-up with these people because they do need help. I saw that program last night, that heroin thing kind of scares me on how these people sell their drugs and then go out and buy cheaper heroin and then get hooked on it. It's something we gotta somehow get a tail on. Thank you.
Drugs are something that have been a problem for a long time, and a lot of different people have tried to fight it. And to think that one of us is going to get elected to a city commission and make worth and solve the drug problem, I think that might be a little above our pay scale. But I think there are things that can be done. I think everyone has touched on sober homes, and sober homes were something I had never heard of until I came to Florida. But the more I learn about it, the more ridiculous it seems that people from all over the country can come here and open up businesses. And their businesses are not places that are here to get people better. They're businesses to make as much of a profit as possible. And so that encourages people to come from all over the country who honestly want to get clean, but like Gary said, they slip up once and they're back out on the streets. So that ups our drug problem and that ups our homeless problem.
15 seconds.
And I think as far as the homeless go, there are solutions that dozens or hundreds of other cities have accomplished and taken care of their so-called homeless problem. Thank you.
Thank you. There are a few neighborhoods that have no parks. Are you in favor of using surplus city property to provide the land if someone can fund the equipment and insurance? Yeah, Frank, sir.
Absolutely. Again, it's another resource we can use to provide recreation. I think that's one of the greatest things we can provide to the city, to our residents. Again, here we have this golf course. It loses a ton of money every year. It's not debt-ridden, it just loses money. But again, I think we can use some of these surplus housing. It might be in line with this homeless issue, I'm not sure. We also have to talk to Ms. Vanna and some of the other commissioners around the county and what we can do to build parks, because, you know, some of the more eastern communities may be a little more affluent, have more access to some more amenities than some of the western communities. And I think they need parks just as much as we do. And I think that's something we can certainly look forward to. Thank you.
We actually have more parks in the city of Lake Worth than most other municipalities. Unfortunately, there are still pockets that don't have good parks in certain areas. I'm all for parks, but I'm also for making sure that the parks are clean, they're mowed, they're taken care of, they have amenities that people can use, and they're not just another place for people to hang out and throw their used needles and whatnot. We have to be able to have the ability to do that. We've been rebuilding our tax base over the last 4 years, and that's been imperative for us to keep up on maintenance. There were no maintenance plans in process for the city. You know, nothing ticks me off more than inconsistency. And when somebody gets cited for a sign outside their business, and yet the city puts one out every time there's a sign up for football, it's illegal, right? Or the sign that sits out front of City Hall is illegal in front of it. We need to create park spaces, but we also make sure to have the funding to do it. And as for the city-owned land, there's not enough parcels yet to put together to create a good space, but I would definitely be open to investigating more park space so that every section of the city is represented.
Absolutely, but I also think we need a plan. We need to have a plan. We need to make sure we can maintain them. We have to make sure that we can pay for the water, just the basic things that aren't thought about. 8th Street Park behind Compass, I was very happy to bring that park to that community through the CRA. That's a combination of grants over a 5-year period that we went every year to NeighborWorks, and every time you go, you get $2,000. We came back and put $2,000 and we put up a fence. Came back the next year, put $2,000, we got a new piece of equipment. We did that with a lot of volunteers, thank you if you're in the room, and a lot of different groups. So absolutely, I support parks, but we need to make sure that we are very structured in where we put the parks. And like the mayor said, a lot of our parcels that the city has are smaller parcels. And I'm for a park that actually makes sense, that has enough equipment, and actually works for the community.
Yeah, I'm all for all new parks all over if you need them. And also I'd add a little bit without charging the city. Save a little money.
I am all for more public parks. I live in one of those neighborhoods that doesn't have a park. The thing I hear most from the people in my neighborhood, especially ones with children, are that they need a place for their children to play, for their dogs to run around. And at this point, even if it is just one small parcel, that's better than what they have now, where I see little children running up and down the road while cars are driving by at 60, 70 miles an hour. And so I definitely support more parks in every neighborhood.
As the mayor mentioned earlier, we do probably have more square footage for parks per capita than most other communities. However, this year, we're going to be opening up Domino Park, which is in the south end of the city, in the Osborne community. And to the question, with respect to surplus property, I'm not really sure we have enough surplus property that we can assemble in an area that has a need for a park. And if we did, we really have to take a hard look at something the mayor mentioned, as Andy mentioned. Maintenance has always been our issue. If you've gone through and seen some of our parks sometimes in our graveyards and things, sometimes they're not kept up as well as they can. We really struggle to provide the manpower and the resources to keep these looking the way they should. So it's really, really important that we can all dream big and have these parks. But if we can't maintain them, then it's really not.
15 seconds.
I'm good.
I assure you this is not a repetitive question. Could be yellow, pink, blue, or green card. What are your plans to combat bad, and underlined bad, sober homes in our area? Are you willing to speak for your city at a state or federal level for reform? The second part is a bit repetitive. If you guys all think I want to answer it, there's somebody in this room that really emphasized that word bad. You can answer it shortly too. Yeah.
We've been fighting, first of all, there's very little that you can do based on legislation. Clemens and Hager had legislation that passed. That was probably the first step towards looking into sober homes. They're protected by ADA compliance. They can happen in any one of your residential neighborhoods. And ironically, they're protected by ADA, but don't have to be ADA compliant in your physical buildings, which I found very, very interesting, right? Every other business in town has to